Hello, and good time zone. And I can see that my fan is absolutely picking up on the microphone, and I don't really think there's anything I can do about that other than switch off the fan. And if the fan switches off, I'm gonna have to end stream because it is hotter than the depths of hell in the United Kingdom this week. Yay! Especially my little bit of sunny Oxfordshire. Also, yay. Anyways, hi everybody. How are you doing? It's lovely to see you. And a good day. Oh, my moderator slash spouse has literally just come home. I'll be back in just a second. Sorry, everyone. Hi, babe. How are you? Are you okay? Yes. Yes, you do. Okay. Have you gotten any advice about working for the rest of the week?
Well, nothing useful.
Ah.
Nothing on the grounds of don't come in, it's going to be hellishly hard.
Oh, well, fuck them then.
Yeah.
Boo. The fan in the living room is already pointed at your desk, so yeah. Love you, baby. Welcome home. Hi, I'm back. Hello, hello. Apologies again for the likely fan sound. If you want to here's some sound effects. Hi, everybody. Woo! I don't know if you could hear me sounding all robotic and strange because I'd held the fan up to my face. But God, I wish I could do the entire stream with the fan directly pointing at my face, like inches away from it. That would be so much nicer than this, which is... I can just about feel it from here. I have it kind of balanced on a box of art supplies. About, I don't know, maybe like a foot and a half away from me. Anyways, hello, welcome back, everybody. Hey, Advent, welcome in. It's lovely to see y'all. It's lovely to be here, despite the heat. I'm sorry to be such a massive stereotype. Hello, I'm here to talk about the weather of all things, but so it goes. I want to try and get this painting done. And for starters, why don't I actually show you what I'm painting? Hi, here they are. This is our little Pride piece for Pride Month. It is a happy little street, and I've started filling in like the windows and little signs and things. Would you come into focus? Thank you. We've got Transrigs Auto Parts. We've got an HRT tea shop, and we've got a Violette, which is a florist. I'm trying to get as many like sort of queer puns and references into the shop names as I can because I think it's fun. Hello, Aoife. Welcome in. It's lovely to see you. Hello, hello, hello. We are in Tiny Details land, and I'm so pumped for it. First, there's some bits that I want to fix that I don't quite like what I did with last time. Like, I feel like the sign, there's not enough contrast between the color of the building and the color of the sign for the building, for the orange one, so I think I want to change that color, so I'm gonna just go over it with a lax book, says Aoife. I mean, you say that, but who's to say that one of these isn't going to be a bookshop? I don't know how I'm going to do the tiny bookshelves, but one of these is definitely got to be a bookshop. I mean, what kind of queer neighborhood street would not have a queer bookshop? Like, that's a staple. That is a staple element of a queer community, you know? I think it's very necessary. So obviously that's going to be included. Anyways, hi Aoife, how are you doing? It's lovely to see you. I hope you are coping, all things considered. Aoife shared it was you, wasn't it, who shared a forecast in the Discord that was pretty much the same as mine for the next 3 days, or very similar in numbers. And it's just frankly nasty for this part of the world. I don't know. Anyways, I just gotta say it at this point. You know what? That's fair. I do have thoughts about the next, like, bookshoppy project that I want to do, because I want to do another one that's just a very sort of, like, labyrinthine bookshop interior. I haven't done that in a while, and I think it's been long enough since the last one that I did that I feel like I've improved upon kind of my skill at doing that a little bit, and I think I want to attempt those sort of perspectives again with bookshelves, because I think that's really fun to do, and I think I might be able to do an even nicer version. Like, I think the old version is, I think that the old one that I did was really nice, but I think I could do it even better. So why not? Listen, you know, the artist, the Japanese painter Hokusai, who you may have heard of, or if you don't know him by name, then you'll probably recognize the famous painting that he did of, like, waves, right? He painted, like, wave motifs in paintings for literal decades, riffing on this motif, before he completed what is now his most famous painting of waves at age 71. So I feel like I am totally justified in having a motif of bookshelves and books and continuing to do it over and over and over again. That is fine and normal and cool and sexy of me, actually. So, like, don't worry about it. Anyways, thinking of just setting my PC up next to the tub and becoming a Princess Eva. Oh my goodness. That's not a terrible idea. A day of 39 feels like 43. Despair is kicking in. Jeez, freaking Murphy. This is the kind of day when I feel like you should be allowed to just bring a folding chair to, you know, those, like, camping chairs that have, like, a cup holder in the chair arm that like, fold out, like, the fabric ones? You should be able to bring one of those to, someplace like a supermarket, right? You should be able to bring that to, like, Aldi or something and just go sit in, like, one of the refrigerated sections where it's nice and cool, because the produce needs to be kept nice and cool, and, you know, just, like, you know, maybe go buy yourself, like, a lemonade or something, and maybe, like, a salad to snack on, and then just sit in the refrigerator section of the grocery store having your lunch, and, you know, feeling somewhat comfortable. I think you should be allowed to do that. I think that they should just be like, yeah, pull up a chair. I mean, they would definitely sell stuff to people who are hanging out in, you know, like, the freezer section at Tesco or whatever. I would be here for that. Because that's one of my favorite places to be when the weather is stupid hot, is the cold section of the supermarket, because, as a general rule, places are just less air-conditioned in the UK. But yeah. Oh yeah, for our Americans whose temperature is in F for some reason, yeah, as a baseline, like, human body temperature is 37 degrees C. I think it's around, it's like 98.5, roughly, in Fahrenheit. So yeah, if the ambient temperature is outside is, like, that level, that's too hot. My camera has borked it. This might be a short stream, everyone. Oh no, I'm gonna have to do some futzing in the background and see if I can get the camera back up and running. I'm so sorry. Things are already going wrong. Oh no. It usually waits until much later in stream to decide to naff off. So let's see if I can get it back. Ah, okay, we're back in business. Hopefully it holds up until the end of the stream, please and thank you. Which might end up being earlier than usual if I'm just dying from heat, who knows. Or if everyone's gone outside or is currently in a cold bath, all of which are extremely valid. Anyways, I hope you're well. I hope if you are in a climate that is currently experiencing unseasonal heat, and especially if you don't have the kind of infrastructure to deal with it, which we certainly don't here in the UK, we have for too many years lived with the absolute lie that we don't get summer weather here. I mean, it is My weather app very handily tells me how close is today's weather to, like, the average for this day of the year. Like, the average temperature over, I'm assuming, a reasonable sample of years for the 22nd of June is 18 degrees Celsius. It's currently 30 degrees Celsius at 5 p.m. That's 12 degrees above the average daily high temperature for this day of the year, which is, frankly, effing nuts. The only good news that I can think to report is, of course, that we have passed the solstice. Happy Solstice Boxing Day, everyone. We have survived the longest day of the year, and things are going to get a little bit more compressed from here on out. You know, it's going to get slightly earlier when sundown happens, which is really good for my brain. My circadian rhythms do not cope well with long days. Like, long days as in, like, the sun doesn't go down until quite late. They also don't cope well with the sun goes down super early. With that being said, like, in the middle of winter, when it's like sundown at 3 p.m., I'm like, oh, geez, the sun's already gone down. It's nighttime. I can't start any tasks now because it's basically bedtime, says my brain. And I end up kind of in idle mode for a weirdly long time because it's dark out, even though it's, you know, the average standard, like, office person's work day hasn't even finished. And I'm like, I can't begin a task yet, even though it's like, you know, 4 hours until dinner. I could do so many things. And I'm able to get over it most of the time, but, like, it is that feeling. But then also, this feeling is like, I can't initiate, like, my evening cool down routine properly because the sun's still out, and that feels wrong and weird. It just throws me off. And then also when it's hot, I just struggle to sleep. I don't know. Like, I'll get into bed and I won't even feel that uncomfortable necessarily. I just won't sleep. It sucks. We usually hit 40 like once or twice a year, says Aoife. In August, it's still June. Yeah, this June has been very all over the place for the UK, certainly. I know you are elsewhere in Europe. But it's been weird for the UK. Like, the first week of June, we also had quite high temperatures. Like, places were issuing warnings for high temperatures for several days in like the first week of June, and then again this week it's gone back to nastiness, which again usually doesn't arrive until somewhat later. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Eva says, but to be fair, last year I was digging holes in this weather with no shade for archaeologists. Now I'm blissfully unemployed, so I can just shower however much I want all day long. So I should count myself lucky, really. I mean, that is nice. It is nice being able to grab a cold shower or whatever you want. I had a cold shower at, like, noon today. It was awesome. Aw, man. Speaking of... Not really speaking of showers, though I did give myself a little fright because I could hear a tapping coming from the bathroom about an hour later, and I was like, oh god. Is one of our taps dripping? Am I going to have to get a plumber in? No. I just hadn't fully turned it off, so it was very slow drip, thankfully, so I don't think we lost too much water. Hello, Katie, welcome in, it's lovely to see you. Hello, hello, hello. But yeah, that was a troubling time. But everything's okay. What was I gonna say? I was not expecting this, but I had a call this morning from an electrician who needs to come round and do some maintenance on our household electrics. I don't actually know what it is he's doing. He has not said. He's going to, I don't know, show up with his tools and stuff, do some mystifying gubbins for an unspecified amount of time, and then leave, and I will not notice a difference. But it's supposedly he's coming at like 9 a.m., which is good because it means that hopefully he'll be here and gone fairly quickly in the morning and I'll be able to get on with the rest of my day. But I also hadn't planned for having someone in my house tomorrow morning on, again, an incredibly hot day. I'm going to be a disgusting, sticky, sweaty mess by 9 a.m. Also, I don't normally begin, like, my sort of daily routine activities until 9 a.m., which means I'm going to have to get set up to do all the things much earlier. What's that? You might have to turn the power on. Well, that's fine, because my laptop runs on battery. Oh! Haha! Yippee skippy! My moderator slash spouse has made a very salient point just now, which is that there's a very real possibility that the electrician will have to switch off the electricity for an unspecified period of time. I was like, oh, that's fine, my laptop runs on battery. The Wi-Fi does not. And most of the work that I would be doing tomorrow morning is stuff that is going to be web-based. Things that require connectivity to the internet and, you know, items that are stored in, like, drives that I access via the internet. So, oh no! I'm gonna have to get up early and just download a bunch of things that I can just review offline, I guess. Ah, shoot. Well, I'm a silly sausage, but hey, it could be worse. At least it's first thing in the morning, so it'll get over and done with. Anyways, if in case you're wondering, my beverages today, this coffee was grown in Colombia and roasted in Toronto. Does your phone have a hotspot, says Advent? Yes, it does. I don't want to use it for this, frankly. I don't think I have that many gigabytes. I guess I could for a brief period if I need to hop on and, like, load a page, I guess. But ideally, I'd rather not do that. We'll see. Anyways, but you make a fair point. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I hadn't considered it. Usually when I use my phone hotspot for, like, home internet, it is by accident, because I have plugged my phone into my computer to charge, and for some reason the computer's internet has decided to connect to my phone as a hotspot instead of the Wi-Fi that it was on. And I don't realize for a while until I realize that, oh, hey, things are loading kind of slowly. Oh, that's because it's on my phone, and I only get 2 bars of signal in the house, so, yay! Anyways, need to come up with some more names for these little shops. I do have a couple in my brain that I would like to use. I want them all to be, you know, sort of like queer puns, because we've got, or at least references to sort of queer things. You know, we've got a florist that references violets, and I'll probably have some little, I want to put some little, like, buckets of bouquets that you can buy, like, out front of the shop, because I think it's really sweet when florists do things like that. And it's just also a nice little visual detail for the piece. But also, they will be, like, lavender and pansies, because, you know, pansies, lavender, violets, all queer-coded flowers. Ooh, and green carnations, too. Delightful. Moriax, hello, hello. They say spare a thought for your local artist this summer. If you're hot, they're hot. Bring them inside. Yep, please. And feed them cooling beverages. I do have cooling beverages. My coffee is iced. I'm not that bonkers. I am drinking. This is an iced coffee. I made an AeroPress onto ice, cold milk. This is a cold drink. Nice and refreshing. Very delicious. Lovely coffee. Oh, no. Katie says I had a 6-hour power outage recently, highlighted just how much of modern life relies on electricity and by extension Wi-Fi. Truly it does. Truly it does. And that's part of the reason, that's one of many reasons that I'm very anti, like, the internet of all of your household appliances. Because not specifically, like, if the electricity goes down, you're kind of stuffed in terms of things that need to be plugged into the mains electricity. But also, if just the Wi-Fi goes down and your toaster needs connectivity in order to toast your bread, there was like an app controlled bed or something. There was like a bed that connects to the Wi-Fi. I think it like, I don't know, it's like temperature controlled or something like that. Yes, it was temperature controlled, because it turned out that it had like a horrible glitch that if for some reason like the Wi-Fi connection failed, it would just default to the hottest setting and you can't turn it off without it being connected to the internet. It's a bed. That's stupid, and you should not have that in your home. Ooh, Advent says I'm looking for my Wi-Fi to have a battery that lasts a while. That's very... It's good to have backups. That's really smart. For sure, for sure. What am I going to name all these shops? I really want... Okay, so... One of these shops has to be a bookshop, and I haven't decided what the name of the bookshop will be. But we do have... I'm going to make a bicycle shop. Because stupid. And I'm thinking maybe like a big gay cafe, because it kind of rhymes. And I don't know, there needs to be a supermarket as well. I can't think of any puns that go with Ace, but I feel like I want Ace rep in this street also. Katie says, even without Internet of Things gubbins, it was very scary, frustrating because it was a wind-induced power outage. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that sucks. Glad you're alright. Glad they managed to sort it fairly quickly. It is amazing how much we are reliant on these like modern infrastructure, and when it goes down it just kind of ruins everything. There was a period of time here where there was like a day where we didn't have running water. That was fun to try to plan around. Also, it was the day of the, you know, like I have very long hair and it's like, I don't know, lightly, it is curly, but it's not like super curly. It's like light curly, but more curly than wavy. It's a confusing hair texture, but it also gets dry on the end, so I can't wash it every day. But normally I would wash it like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and I was coming up to wash day, and then the running water goes out, so I just have like the saddest, like limp, sad hair for like a couple extra days, and I had to just dry shampoo it so that I was semi-presentable. What an adventure. Fun stuff. Anyways, okay. Come on, there we go. Okay. I need to try and decide what, which signs belong to, like, which businesses belong to which dudes. And it's hard work. I don't know. I was trying really hard to come up with, like, interesting, fun names and businesses and stuff off stream for several days. And it turns out I'm just not very intelligent. But I feel like we could have like a record shop in here. That'd be really cute. Maybe a little grocery store. I don't know, but I think one of these wants to be a cafe. Maybe this green one can be a cafe. I will find an appropriate color for the sign writing. It wants to stand out nicely, I think. Maybe, no, not brown. That's black. Maybe like a really dark blue? Maybe like a really dark blue. Where's my blues? If I take these two and kind of blend them together, I might get something nice. Anyways, Sammy Sandwiches, that's me. That is me. Do you have a battery-powered fan available for tomorrow for heat management purposes, says Katie. I don't! That's a fair point. I do not. We did look at fans for sale on, like, the supermarket website yesterday, because we ordered, normally we'd go to the supermarket and buy groceries of a Wednesday, but instead we're just having them delivered this week. Because The idea of carrying heavy grocery bags home at the hottest point in the day sounds like a really horrible idea. Like, neither of us have particularly good heat tolerance, and neither of us are in particularly excellent health right now, so, like, do I want to be taking that risk? No. So, someone is coming around and bringing us bags of groceries tomorrow, and I'm very grateful for that. They're gonna see me with bad hair, because hopefully the electrician will have gone by then, because the delivery is arriving at, like, noon-ish. And I would really hope that on the hottest day ever, that my fridge isn't going to be switched off for 3 hours. The Ace Apothecary. Ooh, I like that. Can I steal that? That's really cute. I don't know how I'm going to get all of those letters onto a sign, but I will try. I don't know, I like alliteration. I like alliteration too. That works really well. I like it. Okay. So, I'm going to make this big gay cafe. If I can. And again, my lettering is not the greatest. And even with this teeny tiny brush, doing the letters, I guarantee you delivery people have seen horrors beyond imagining. They will not blink at you, says Moriax. Oh, I know. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I hope that, I'm sure, like, the van obviously is temperature controlled in terms of they have to keep the groceries cold. I hope that the van is nicely air conditioned for the human person cabin as well, the person driving around. I mean, they can always just stick the window down. It's probably one of the better places to be, I feel like, on a hot day, is a very well air conditioned van. I don't know. I assume that it's not a terrible job, because every grocery delivery driver that I've met has been just incredibly chipper. So I feel like that's the kind of job that they get because they like getting to drive around all day and possibly also interact with people in their pajamas. I don't know. Anyways, alliteration is a lovely branding technique, says Katie. I agree. I think it's wonderful. Okay. Yeah. You're really gonna have to stretch your imagination reading some of these, I feel like. My penmanship is exceedingly poor at the best of times, but hopefully you can more or less extrapolate that this is come into focus, come on, focus. It does not want to focus on this bad boy at all. Oh no. There we go. I have to say that is the Big Gay Cafe. Yay. Oh, I think that's going to be a real cute cafe. That seems like it would be a nice place to hang out. I bet they do very good cake. Oh, I hope they've got gluten-free options. I hope they have gluten-free options that are not brownies or flapjacks. Because if there's one gluten-free option, it's always either a flapjack or a brownie. And don't get me wrong, I love both, but, like, you know. One also desires variety in one's life, doesn't one? I know I certainly do. Never mind. Anyways, I've just realized that I cleaned my brush off, but I actually still need to use this paint for a second. So I'm gonna I've been outlining these signs, and I think that looks really cute, so I want to do it for all of them. Yes. I absolutely forget what we were talking about. Apologies. I did a tiny amount of work on this off stream yesterday. I did a little bit of outlining of the little windows here, because I would love to get this. I will headcanon this whole alley is celiac friendly, says Advent. Oh, thank you. As far as I know, I don't think I am celiac, but I'm definitely sensitive. But for those who are celiac, woof, you have to avoid so many foods. You have to be so careful. And it's deeply annoying. So, love that for them. um, but yeah, the thing about, like, I haven't been tested for celiac, but part of the reason for that is that it turns out that the way that you screen for celiac disease is ideally you will have had something with gluten in it for every day for 4 weeks leading up to the screening test. That's torture. Are you freaking kidding me? No, no, no. Do not want. Oh my god. Hard pass. No. Absolutely not. As such, I don't know whether or not I am, but I don't think I am. But I do have, obviously, eat gluten-free things, because if I don't, bad things happen to my body, and it's unpleasant, and it lasts for, sometimes a while, even when it's not that much food. But yeah, anyway, speaking of food, that being said, I baked this weekend on the one day that it was under 25 degrees during the day here in the United Kingdom, or my bit of the United Kingdom. I've seen the weather for Edinburgh, and it's like 20 degrees, and I'm like, it's not fair. Anyways, I did, if I can find my picture. Now, not that you can tell, but this is a chocolate chip cookie. Specifically, this is a brown butter buckwheat chocolate chip cookie, and when I tell you that it is very good, you'll just have to believe me because I can't post it to you. Anyways, Moriak says, I can't help but be reminded of Danny the Street, the living genderqueer street created by who else? Non-binary writer Grant Morrison. I'd forgotten about the existence of Danny the Street, the living genderqueer street. Thank you for reminding me of the existence of the living street. Thank you, that's delightful. I mean, I feel like this is a living street in as much as it's like a vibrant community. Yeah. Katie says, it's unfortunate that testing for celiac isn't like skin-based allergy testing. Yeah, it really is. I guess basically, if you're not being exposed to the thing that you have a severe reaction to, then the markers that show up in your blood or whatever won't be present, because you haven't been exposed to the thing. So if you're limiting your exposure to the thing, they're not going to show up in enough quantity to be certain that that's what's going on with you. I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, having a confirmed diagnosis of celiac doesn't really, at this stage in our medical knowledge of, like, allergies, intolerances, and that kind of thing, it's not really that helpful anyways, because it's not like there's a prescription tablet or shot that you can get that would just make you magically be able to eat the ingredient that your body decides to throw a tantrum at you when you put it in your mouth. You just, I suppose, have that awareness, and I guess can tell restaurants, hey, I'm this, so can you please make sure that my meal doesn't have the ingredient in it? And then the restaurant knows to, like, oh, shoot, we've got to extra clean the counters before we make this sandwich with GF bread. But there is, it's not like lactose intolerance. With lactose intolerance, I can just take a little bean-sized tablet that's quite cheap that I can get from, like Boots or the health food store, before I consume anything that has, like, dairy in it, and then I'm good to go. They don't have that for, like, wheat. Just for the restaurant to not take it seriously sometimes, says Advent. That that ticks me off so much, and I feel like any restaurant that decides to not take it seriously is asking for trouble. I've heard horror stories about, like, service workers being like, oh, this person asked for, you know, this plant-based milk, which I think is pretentious and stupid, so I gave them one with dairy milk, and they drank it, and it's like, yeah, and maybe they broke out in uncontrollable hives an hour later after they left the cafe, and it's your fault, you ding-dong. Why would you do that, you know? Maybe they drank it and didn't realize that it didn't have the coconut milk that they'd asked for, but dairy milk instead, and then they just have the shits for the rest of the day. Congratulations. Do you feel good about yourself? You should not be in food service. Sorry. Getting spicy. But I think, you know, I think that, like, restaurants generally, if you are working in the like, food service industry and you do not take allergies and food sensitivities seriously, even if you don't understand them, because sometimes you'll find yourself in a situation where, like, someone asks for, like, a dairy-free, you know, maybe they ask for, like, the vegan burger, but then they order ice cream for dessert. So you're like, oh, so they weren't serious about, you know, having to have non-dairy. And it's like, maybe they pick their battles when it comes to lactose. Or maybe they just prefer the vegan cheese. You don't know. It's none of your beeswax. Yeah, like, I'm allergic to mushrooms, but if they bring me something that has mushrooms in it and it's easy enough for me to pick the mushrooms out, I will just pick the mushrooms out, give them to my partner, and he'll eat the mushrooms. But, like, you know, there are also people for whom, like, let's say if they sprinkle peanuts on top of a dish and you ask them to not put the peanuts on the dish because you have a peanut allergy, and they go ahead and put the peanuts on the dish anyways, and you eat some not realizing that it's got peanuts on it, and you go into anaphylaxis. Congratulations, restaurant. Your ass is grass. Like, that's stupid. Moriak says, I've worked in food. It's drilled into you in my experience. You can get in a lot of trouble if you don't follow the rules. Exactly. Restaurants do not want to be sued. Most restaurants are working on a very slim profit margin, if any at all. You know, they are, like, in general, the food service industry is not where the big bucks are made. You know, even a success, like, you see successful restaurants close down in popular areas because even with, like, a busy restaurant most nights, they end up not being able to afford the rent there. So a restaurant really does not want to be sued. They cannot afford it. Okay? Not to mention the fact that if someone got really sick because of something that you served them, knowing that they had an allergy, and you were like, oh, it's fine. It's just a little bit of sesame. It's not going to harm them. And it turns out that their sesame allergy is quite severe, and they were very serious about it, and you were just like, drizzle of sesame oil. It's all good. And then, you know, they end up in the hospital, and they decide to sue. You should feel extremely bad about yourself, too. Feel bad about yourself. Someone got sick. And Katie says, I'm not super keen on chocolate, mostly because chocolate likes to hang out with tree nuts, which I'm actually allergic to. No! I don't say I'm allergic to chocolate, I just don't pick things that have chocolate in them. That's totally fair. I do actually, so I've been noticing more often restaurants will ask if you have any allergies when you're, like, being seated and handed the menus. And that, I think, is, again, because they want to be aware if there's anything that they need to take extra care about so that they can do that. And I always say no. Because the one time I said, oh, mushrooms, and they were like, oh, geez, okay, I'm gonna need to get my colleague who is an allergy expert. I'm not allowed to handle, like, menu orders for people with allergies. So I'll need to get, and I was like, no, it's okay, it's not, I'll just order things off the menu that don't have mushrooms in it, it's fine. And they're like, no, I have to get my, so they had to get a different colleague to come take our orders, because they weren't allowed to take orders from people with allergies. So I just say no, because it's just easier. But yeah, Katie says, it's so dumb that folks are okay with not believing people about allergies. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, are there a lot of people who just don't want to eat certain food? Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people who just don't want to eat certain foods. But you know what? At that point, it's also none of your beeswax. If somebody orders the gluten-free burger, it might just be because for some insane reason they prefer the gluten-free bread. None of your beeswax. You know? Don't be like, I think that person's faking it because they look like they're an Instagram user, so I'm just gonna give them the regular burger, and then they end up, like, you know, being sick all night. That's stupid. But I think these, like, for anyone out there who's watching this who have allergies, sensitivities, intolerances, genuine instances where there are foods that you cannot consume for whatever reason, 99.999% of food service staff are taking you seriously, and you're gonna be okay. Anyways, well, that being said, I did once go to a really bad, and I was very, this is the one instance, this is so mean. I was so happy to hear that this restaurant closed down, because I went to, it was a vegetarian restaurant in New York City. I was so excited to eat here because they had a really nice looking menu. Like, it looked like it was going to be a good place. It had been open for, like, oh god, I feel like 70 or 80 years at this point. Like, you know, institutional, right? It was awful. It was awful. This is in New York City, and they could not tell, my friend, whether or not the cheese that they used in the mac and cheese was kosher. You should be able to know whether or not your cheese is kosher. Like, and the server was like, I don't know, and went back to the kitchen staff and is like, is the cheese kosher? And they're like, we don't know if the cheese is kosher, because not all cheese is kosher, because they don't mix meat and cheese together. Philly cheesesteak, it's not kosher. Anyways, so he ended up getting the vegan mac and cheese, which was fine. I think I also had the vegan mac and cheese, and I also thought it was just fine. Like, the food was not great, honestly. And the service was very clueless, which, again, like, embarrassing. And also not very friendly. So anyways, I was happy they closed, because that's bad. But yeah, Advent says, I've taken 2 long foods classes and I was very surprised we went over very little about food allergies and sensitivity. Interesting. I guess it depends on, was it like a food course for the purpose of, like, food service, or was it more like food science, or, I don't know. It'll get covered at some, it's certainly, if you're going into, like, food service, I think it would come up more as, like, a food safety issue. But I would hope anyways. Katie says, if someone orders gluten-free bread and the restaurant discovers the gluten-free bread is out of stock, tell the customer, don't just swap in regular bread. Yeah, absolutely. Not knowing if cheese is kosher in a locale that has a high kosher keeping population as well. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, admittedly, like, a large proportion of my circle of acquaintance in New York City, and when I, sort of spent more time visiting New York City and had friends there, were Jewish. So, like, it was fairly normal in my experience to be like, hey, could you let me know whether the cheese that you use in this dish is kosher? And it was unusual for a place to be like, It's like, you should know this. This should be pretty knowable to you. Exactly. Moriak says, some cheese can have rennet in it, which makes it non-kosher. Benefits of food training. Yeah, exactly. Rennet is, there is like a vegetarian version of it. But rennet is a standard, like, straight ahead rennet, the cheese ingredient, which is used in the making of certain types of cheese, is made from something in a cow's tummy. I'm not sure what exactly, but it comes from a cow's tummy, and is therefore not considered to be, like, kosher in conjunction with cheese or dairy, because, again, Philly cheesesteaks, bacon double cheeseburgers, not kosher. Food service and food preparation, says Advent. Weird! Wild! Huh. Interesting. I don't know. I've never taken the only course that I've ever taken that was related to food, other than, like, just sort of a let's learn to cook some things classes that I've taken for fun, was the cultural studies of food. So it was more broad, looking at food as, like, an aspect of culture rather than the practicalities of, like, food preparation. That was a fun course. It was a good time. I hope that the professor who taught that course is doing well. She was very nice. She was a lovely Bosnian lady. You're a fun horse. You're a fun horse. Hi, Q2s. Welcome in. Thank you very much for the hydrate. I just took a sip, but I'm going to take another sip now. Thank you very much. And for the posture check as well. Let me attempt to lengthen my spine as best as I can. Also, hello, welcome in. Oof! Oh, my spine. I don't know about y'all, but I've been having really, like, a ton of, like, muscle soreness lately. Now this may be side effects of, like, specific medical stuff for me, so you're probably not also experiencing it, but I think it's exacerbated by the heat, which, tends to also make me a bit sore. Woof. Also, apologies again for the fan sounds, which I realize are not the funnest. Anyways, mention of Bosnia reminds me, I saw some discussion earlier today about, and I've noticed this phenomenon as well, people who don't like what they consider, like, pretentious cinema and pretentious, like, cinema enjoyers as opposed to just, like, the movies, and they're, you know, like, making a connotative difference between, like, movies and cinema. Cinema being, you know, sort of the artsy, pretentious stuff. And the examples that these people who, like, hate pretentious cinema will always throw out are things like, a film about the, you know, the like, a period of the Serbian government through the perspective of a pigeon. And the reason I bring that up, or, like, some kind of weird surrealist nonsense that doesn't, like, some kind of surrealist, like, Polish nonsense that doesn't make any... My point in this is that it's almost always Eastern European that they point to as being, like, the pretentious, artsy cinema that's stupid and doesn't make any sense and is bad, therefore. And I just think there's an interesting... there's something interesting happening there. Why is it that you always point to Eastern Europe when you think of movies that you think are not worth your time? Why is your example of things that you think are, like, too artsy and pretentious and depressing Eastern Europe? It's just interesting, you know? I say it's interesting. It is, what shall I say? Maybe just a smidgen of, like, latent xenophobia. Maybe just a little bit. I mean, it's usually, like, probably, like, Americans saying this kind of thing. And it's like, you realize that Eastern Europe is a pretty, like, diverse landscape of places and peoples, number one. Number two, like, there's a lot. I mean, you're not watching any of this, but there is a butt ton of different, like, the cinematic landscape of Eastern Europe is as diverse as anywhere else. They're making spy movies and romantic comedies, and they're also making movies about a pigeon and the government. I don't know. But it's like, when's the last time you went to a Marvel movie and thought, yeah, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life? I say this as someone who used to go see every Marvel movie that came out. I haven't seen any in a while. Because, yeah, anyways. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting observation, and I think it's generally true that, like, oh, you know, the presumption that, like, the overly pretentious cinema, the bad cinema, the cinema that annoying people who think they're too cool are into, are the foreign movies, just kind of rubs me the wrong way, actually. I think that's really icky of you, friendo. Not cool. Not cool at all. Anyways. What's next? Also, never mind the fact that, like, okay, I have a friend who's Czech, and she shares a lot of things to do with, like, classic Czech movies, and they all look so interesting and so cool, and I want to watch all of them. Katie says, not understanding a film from a different cultural background is one thing. Describing it as pretentious is rude, in my opinion. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredibly rude. I think it's incredibly rude and incredibly short-sighted. You know, I say this as someone who's watched, like, a fairly wide variety of films in my life, and some of them I liked and some of them I didn't, and rarely did it have to do with... Something went ding, by the way. Oh, jeez, okay. Stream's broken, give me a second. Thank you. I did think that I heard a ding, but I wasn't sure. But, well, we know what it was. You probably heard that too. Anyways, hopefully I'll be back in a second. Is it this one? No. Oh, jeez, no, it's not that one. It's not that camera. It's that camera. Is my hand? Yeah, okay. Alright, we're back. We're back. Yay. Anyways. Thank you for your patience. But yeah, I do think that there is a certain element of persons, for whom just kind of presuppose a negativity towards things that they don't understand. Whether that's like a piece of media or just like a cultural phenomenon. It's just like, what is this? It's weird. I don't like it. I don't recognize it. Therefore, my knee-jerk response is it's bad. And I just think that's a really sad way to go about your life and to experience the world. I don't know. Personally, I find it a lot more joyful to come at media that I'm not familiar with, or like styles of media that I'm not familiar with a sense of curiosity. I might come away from it being like, I didn't really like that very much, but you know what? I approached it with curiosity and maybe I learned something. And I think it's just nice to, oh, for flip's sake, are you kidding me? No. Okay, if it starts doing this consistently, this might end up being a short stream. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, here we go again. Okay. Gonna try a thing again. We're back. We are back. We are back. Hopefully we're back for good. The only bad cinema I can think of, says Advent, is the first Avatar: The Last Airbender live action. Oh man, I remember seeing the trailer for that when it was like on its way to being released, and yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to see that. That was a hard pass. I haven't actually seen any of the original Avatar: The Last Airbender. I hear it's very good. I just never got around to it, but, yeah, that was a bad translation from TV to film. Yeah, exactly. Adaptation is hard. Adaptation is a skill. I seem to remember I liked the film. Have you seen the film adaptation? That was a wild one. That was the first instance, and I don't know if it's still the only instance, but it was the first instance of a fictional character receiving, I think it was an Oscar for Best Screenplay, because one of the main characters in the film is the screenwriter of the film, which in the narrative of the film, he is, I believe, co-writing with his brother, who doesn't exist in real life. And nominally, it's the story of the screenwriter writing the adaptation screenplay of a book that is a book that exists in real life, but it's not just an adaptation of the book that exists in real life. It is a movie about the writing of the adapted screenplay based on this book that exists in real life. So the main character, effectively, is the screenwriter of the movie, and then also his fictional twin brother. And then you see through his, like, reading and attempts to adapt the book, you see, like, scenes from the... which is, in itself, a non-fiction book, so you get, like, the character of the author of the book, and then the person that she was writing the book about, but then you get, like, other details that aren't in the book that he then ends up kind of, like, finding out based on sort of like gaps in the book and trying to learn things about it, and I thought it was a pretty good movie. I thought it was a pretty good movie, but then I like that kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that probably people who hate cinema nerds would consider to be too pretentious, and guess what? It's an American movie. It starred Nicolas Cage. He's great. Anyways, an ad break is imminent. just as I've mustered a little bit more gumption to potentially do some stuff, I'm just gonna use, I think this sign is gonna be in pink because the signage itself is like a dark red. So I think if I reactivate this blobbit of pink that I have here, I think that'll be good. But I need to decide what the name of this shop is going to be. And we'll do that after the break, I guess, because break is imminent. I love Cinema Nerds, says Advent. Hell yeah. I love thinking about movies and talking about movies, and I don't watch enough movies these days because mostly I watch YouTube videos. But I should correct that at some point. But also I'm tired. Anyways, I will be back in just a couple of minutes to, I don't know, natter about more things and probably not get very much painting done. But in the meantime, please have a beverage if you haven't recently. You need to hydrate, especially if it's hot where you are. I'm sorry if you have to see ads, but you're not going to miss anything because I'll be right back. BRB, everyone. Okay, I'm back, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully, yay, my camera is still functioning. Oh, thank God. Anyways, it's not perfect, but I have had an idea for the name of this place. At least it sounds alliterative, even if the letter is different. But this is going to be the Sapphic Cinema. Literally, which I don't know if that means that, like, the only movies that they screen are, like, But I'm a Cheerleader, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, oh, what was the name of that Kenyan film from a few years ago about the queer ladies? I didn't see it, but I saw a trailer for it and it looked really lovely. Oh, and this Indian film that I saw on mute in the seat back TV of the person sitting across the aisle and one row ahead of me on a flight. And despite not being able to hear the movie, I was so compelled by it that I watched the entire movie through. I wish I could remember what it was called. It was from India. And I really enjoyed it with no sound on. I don't know if having the sound on changes the tone completely, but it was a really good movie about, not to spoil the plot too much, but basically it was about a woman who was like, she was like a school gym teacher. She's not married because she's gay. But her parents are like, you should marry somebody, you need to get married. She's not out to them, so she's like, okay, fine, I guess. If you want to set me up with somebody, I will meet with them. She is set up with this guy, she meets this guy. This guy is extremely gay, and they end up in a situation where they're like, okay, yeah, let's get married. And they get married, and the relationship is tense for a bit because they're not quite out to each other, but also they are absolutely not interested in being married. They're just like, let's just be flatmates. So they're just flatmates, who are technically legally married, and they end up both dating other people. And if I say any more, I'm gonna start giving away too much of the plot. But basically that's the catalyst of the movie. But, I will say, if you are tired of queer films where it ends in tragedy, and you're okay being spoiled for this movie, I do not remember the name of, but I thought was really good when I watched it with the sound off with subtitles on the back of someone else's airplane seat. I wish I could remember the name of it. This is so embarrassing. I will tell you, anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled for the ending of the movie, I don't know, just, like, don't listen for the next 10 seconds. It has a happy ending. That's all. I won't say more, but it has a happy ending. And I really, as a tired person who's just tired of every queer movie that's, like, you know, celebrated awards bait, blah being some kind of tragedy, it's so tiresome. Just let us be happy. Just let us be happy and okay. I feel like a lot of the time the films about queer characters that end in some kind of tragedy it feels like these are queer films that are not being made for queer people. And I'm just like, obviously there are definitely going to be queer people out there who love them, right? But it feels like that's the kind of cinema that's being made for, you know, like, cis-het people to look at and kind of feel like, I'm so glad that it's not me in this tragic situation. Catharsis, right? Rather than, wow, I really hate that every representation of people like me I see in, like, major motion pictures is that we die. Like, that sucks. I watched Oppenheimer yesterday, says Katie. Was it good? I've never seen it. I remember I was very amused by the kind of organic marketing that came up around it because it was coming out at the same time as Barbie, and they're such, like, opposite films that it ended up being like, it's Barbenheimer summer. That was a weird year. That was a weird year for big blockbuster films. On the one hand, you've got, like, this biopic of a very interesting but, you know, sort of difficult piece of history, and a very complicated character, and on the other hand, you've got Oppenheimer. You know, I just think that's interesting. Yay, I have managed to successfully paint the word sapphic. Can I successfully paint the word cinema? Wish me luck. But it feels apropos of our conversation that I actually put a little independent picture house in our little, Okay, so cinema kind of got away from me a little bit, but I feel like you can just about tell that it's supposed to say sapphic cinema, or at least I hope that you can. And if not, that's on purpose, and it's pretentious. Oh, jeez. Anyways, I once again cleaned my brush too soon, because I need a little bit of this to do. Just a cute little outline around the sign. Anyways, what are y'all up to this week? I hope that you've got a fun week ahead of you. I hope that if the weather is absolutely horrible where you are, that you are able to find a place to stay comfy and happy and good. I do. Now, I was trying to decide which of these signs should be the Ace Apothecary, and I feel like purple is the most obvious choice, because purple is in the Ace flag, but on the other hand, this building cuts off slightly, and I'm not going to fit all those words in there. So I think it's going to be the orange one. So apologies to Ace folks who are very attached to Ace purple, which is, the shade of purple in the Ace flag is gorgeous. I love purple. It's one of my favorite colors. I do not consider myself Ace enough to feel like that's a flag that I identify with, but man, it's lovely. Katie says, I mean, if you're interested in a well-researched historical piece that was a bit difficult for me to follow because of editing choices, but wow, not sure they could have pulled it off in less than 3 hours. Fair enough. It is a dense topic, but I'm glad to hear that it was well researched, because that's always a thing for me. Is if I feel like a historical piece is going for, this is a serious historical piece, and it misses the mark in terms of, like, pieces of, like, research that were incorrect, or kind of leaning too hard into, like, a mythology of things rather than, you know, the history of it. I don't always love that. I mean, I know that there's stuff that you just kind of have to like extrapolate and guess and fudge for the sake of narrative, because a narrative is not the same as a factual book. Nicomas! Welcome in. Thank you very much for the follow. I hope I'm saying your username correctly. If I'm not, please let me know. But regardless, hello, welcome in. I missed my trash collection today, says Advent. Shoot. Ah, Beans, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that it comes regularly enough that you can wait until the next one and it's not going to be too much of a bother. Cillian Murphy, unrecognizable as J. Robert Oppenheimer, OMG. Yeah. Impressive. Good actor, I think, based on the things I've seen him in, which are not a ton, but he hosted a few radio programs for a radio station that I used to listen to, and I quite enjoyed them. He's got some interesting taste in music. And this is an aromantic and not ace, and I'm not jealous at all, don't worry about it. Green is fine, actually. I like green too. I'm a little jelly. Listen, the arrow flag is also, I like the like gradient of greens in the arrow flag. Hold on. I have some Arrow Ace artwork from a few years ago that I still think is really cute, so I'm gonna make you look at it 1 second. If I can find it fairly quickly on my, list of artworks here on the Instagram. I feel like I'm getting slower at painting rather than faster, and that's just because I'm getting more verbose on stream, I think. Though that being said, I did complete 31 paintings last month, so generally the month after I do an art month, I tend to slow down and take things a little bit more easy, because that's a big investment of time for yours truly, who is, again, a bit of a slowpoke. Oh geez, this is scrolling back so slowly. This is gonna take a minute to find. Is this worth scrolling all the way? I think it is, because actually I really like the way that this painting came out. Yesterday I posted a painting that I did, I think probably like 3 years ago. That felt appropriate for like solstice and Pride Month. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, was my art better 3 years ago? I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think my art's at least as good as it was 3 years ago. But on the other hand, I do look at my old art and I'm like, what if I copy my art style from this old piece and do that again? Because that turned out really cute. Are these normal thoughts? I don't know. Where the heck was this? Okay, I'm getting closer. Seasonally speaking. Okay, so it'll be before you. I don't remember what year I painted this. Is it taking so long to load? I'm sorry, chat. I thought this would be faster. I really did. Oh no. Oh, beans. Okay. Where is she? Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Was it? Oh my god, was it the year before this? Jeez, it might have been. Okay, it might be older than I thought it was. Uh-oh. This may take slightly longer than I thought. Also, I don't post enough art to my socials. I always have like a backlog these days of art to post to the old socials, because I don't have it in me to do it as soon as I finish an artwork. I'm just like, no, I'm tired. But I think the algorithm really likes to punish me for not posting enough. Though that being said, I think Instagram just hates me now. Looking at Hollow Knight Art Month posts from like a year ago, and I was getting probably about 5 times as much engagement as I did for this year's. Like 2 years ago. And I don't think my art's gotten 5 times worse. I think Instagram is just a dumb piece of crap that likes you to feel bad about yourself. But then I feel extra bad about myself because it's also a compare yourself to other people machine, and it feels like other people are getting significantly more engagement than my work does. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Probably everything. Probably just the answer is just make your art better. I don't know, but, well, I'm not going to do that, so, anyways. I did actually, I got a shop sale the other day from, it's always a surprise when I get a shop sale from someone who, like, I don't already know, like, someone who's not, like, in my stream chat, or whatever, especially if it's someone whose work I recognize as, like, a fellow creative person. That's always a bit of a, like, what? Wait, you like my art? What? But you're cool. And we're not friends yet. Are you sure? Is this a mistake? That's where my brain goes. I short circuit slightly. But that was nice. Anyways, I do have a shop, but there will be probably in about a week's time a little mini update to the shop. So if you were thinking about getting something and you might want another thing, yeah. Anyways, Katie says, dude vanished into that role like a skilled chameleon. I assume we're still talking about Cillian Murphy. Him and Robert Downey Jr. absolute chameleons, both of them in this film. Actually, Robert Downey Jr.'s character had me thinking the role was played by Robert Picardo. Oh my god, I wish it was. I love that guy. I mean, I'm sure Bobby Downey's he is a very good actor. But there's a fondness in my heart for Robert Picardo because of, you can probably guess why. That's amazing. That is genuinely, delightful. Where the hell is this artwork? I am traveling ridiculously far back into my Instagram history and I still can't find this stupid thing. Am I sure I painted it? Am I sure I posted it? I'm sure I did, but I can't find it now. It can't have been the year before this. It can't be. I'm so confusion right now. I am so confusion right now. Because I know it would have been around Pride Month. Huh. Anyways. Strangeness. Anyways, how are y'all doing? I hope you're well. I hope you're... Oh, there it is. Never mind. I literally just went right past it. Like a blind ding-dong. So let me show you. All that, and it's just this. All that, and it's just... Hey. Instagram, behave. Please load. It's just this. It's just these guys. This is my Arrow Ace Magpie solidarity. They're besties. And they're hanging out in London. And I hope you like them. They were very fun to paint. And also the little... I found a bit of city that I thought was cute to do as their little backdrop. Yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to... I just spent the last, 5 minutes scrolling to try and find these ding-dang Arrow Ace Magpies, but I hope you like them. If memory serves, they were very fun to paint. It was a good time. Anyways, hello Huggy Bear, welcome in. It's lovely to see you. Welcome. Can probably not stay long waiting for a friend to come online. Cool. Thank you so much for dropping in. However briefly, it's wonderful to see you. And hi. Hope you are having a good one. I am... Oh my god, it's too hot in here. This might be a shorter stream, because it's too hot in here, frankly. I might end up finishing before the next ad break, just so y'all don't get subjected to it. And so I can go, cool off. I've been having a good one for the past few weeks despite the heat, says Huggy Bear. Good. I'm so glad to hear it. I am having, I'm having an it's too hot. That's what I'm having. Quite unfairly, I've had, unsurprisingly, I guess, if you know, you know, and probably nobody knows, but, I've had a song stuck in my head, for, the whole day, because the chorus goes, I don't know any of the other words, and it's in German, but I've had, Es ist zu heiß für mich in diese Stadt, all day, because that means it's too hot in the city for me, and that's how I feel. Es zu heiß für mich. Anyways, wishing you folks the same. Thank you. That only happens to be every 8 out of 10 days. Fair enough. Katie says, side note, 90s/2000s Nickelodeon fans will recognize one of the supporting actors in Oppenheimer. Josh Peck plays Kenneth Bainbridge. Oh, good for him. I don't know if I've seen... I am not the right demographic/country for that content, but I see a lot of it around the internet from a other people's nostalgia perspective, so I'm like vaguely familiar. It's a weird place to be in, sort of experiencing the nostalgia cultures of others through like osmosis. Is super weird, because it's like, oh yeah, it's that. It's like, wait a second, I did not grow up watching that. Either I was too old or I was not in the right country for it. But I was learning German for a bit, says Advent. Nice. I get the impression that it is, I studied German for 3 years, many years ago. Don't talk about your ages, chat. But I did study German for 3 years, many, many years ago, and I get the impression that I'm going to be in Germany for a few days in August. I get the impression I'm not going to need to speak any German while I'm there, and I probably shouldn't bother. For clarity, I'm going to Berlin specifically. So it's what was I saying? It's probably more annoying to people like service workers who are fluent in English if I try and speak German at them. Because it's going to take longer than if I'm just like, 2 lattes, please. Berlin. So, large city. Though, I think being able to recognize, I know that I think, based on experience of, international travel, being able to recognize words like, bus stop out of use, rail replacement bus, that kind of thing, useful information to have, significant delays on this line, that kind of thing. It's good to at least be able to read that and be like, that means this bus stop is not in use, instead of standing at a bus stop for 30 minutes and wondering where the hell the bus is. Anyways. Always helpful. Advent says, I'm going to play Sea of Thieves. So if anyone gets too close to me, they will hear your stream. Hello, fellow pirates! I hope you're having a wonderful adventure, everybody. Just in case. Hello, mateys! Hope you're well. Anyways, Huggy Bear says, my French is bad, but I was amazed at how much my terrible French helped me around Paris when I was visiting there. I have not, despite, my French is better than my German. I studied it, sort of scholastically for many more years than I studied German. It is the second official language of the country that I come from. I have family who are, Francophone. I have not been to Paris. I've barely been to France. Which I feel like is a weird choice considering it's not that far from us, and also I do speak, un petit peu de français. But with that being said, I'm also a shy plum with the occasional auditory processing issues in English exacerbated when speaking a second language. That being said, when I was in Belgium, when I was in French bits of Brussels, I did speak French, and it was very helpful to speak and understand French in Brussels. Parts of Brussels that aren't predominantly Flemish speaking. You do have to check, because there was one place where I went up to the counter and stated in French that I was just, it was a coffee shop and I was just buying a bag of beans. and I expressed to them in French that I would like to just buy a bag of coffee beans, please. And they responded in English. Because that was not a French area, it turns out. Oh well. Anyways. So I switched to English at that point. Or maybe, I don't know, I just sounded, maybe my accent was too weird and they were like, you must not be local. Which was true, I'm not. I think my French sounds probably a little bit, Canadienne, but that's because I am Canadien, so it's fine. Being able to read temp signs that might not be multilingual is very helpful, says Katie. Yep, and a lot of the time, they ain't. Franglish says Huggy Bear. Yep, Or in French, franglais. Yep, exactly. What was I gonna say? Where can we find the redeem button to hear? No! No, don't make me do it. Anyways, what was I saying? Dudes. Oh, yeah. So, I was in... No, come on. No, it's happened again. I was in Amsterdam last year, and I speak, basically no Dutch. Sorry, the camera's pooped itself again. Sorry, everybody. I'm gonna have to restart it here. I was in Amsterdam last year. There we are. Okay, we're back up and running. I think the camera is telling me that I should probably not stream as long as usual today. What was I saying? Yeah, so, I was in Amsterdam last year, and my Dutch is an extremely tiny amount. I did actually take Dutch lessons briefly when I was like 13 or 14 just for funsies. I don't know why. Don't need to indulge, says Huggy Bear. I hate those type of requests myself. It's fine, doesn't matter. But there was one point at which we were trying to get to this, like, the specific station where we could transfer to a station that would get us close to our hotel rather than having to go all the way to the center of the city and then come back out to get to our hotel, which ended up being what we ended up doing because the transfer location such as it was, we would have had to get a different ticket from there, and all of the ticket machines at that station were broken. So we decided to hope for the best that we could, like, just scan our tickets again and just go back into the station and continue on from there rather than transferring onto the trams. And the answer was yes. Yes, we could do that. But when we, like, put our, scanned our tickets on the little machine thing, it said, "Overstoppen," which was not a word that I recognized, but I was like, is this fine? Is this ticket okay? Is it gonna, like, ding us for, like, unpaid fares when we get to, like, Central? And the answer is no. That just means transfer. But we, like, I didn't know that, and I was like, Overstoppen, what does this mean in this context? Like what? I'm nervous, and it was fine. It was just as soon like the first time we took a tram, I could hear, like, the next in Dutch, the next stop is, like, whatever the next stop was, Overstoppen for, and then they, like, named other tram lines, and I was like, oh, that just means transfer. That just means that this is an interchange. And you can interchange for these other tram lines at this station. But when I saw that word come up, because I didn't know what it meant, I was like, did I F this up? Is this gonna... Are we gonna get in trouble? No, it was fine. Like, exactly what were you doing, says Huggy Bear. I was trying to transfer from, like, a train onto a tram at a station where I couldn't get a tram ticket because the, the ticket machines were all broken. but technically the ticket that I used covered from, like, the airport to, like, the main railway station in the center of town. So we just got back on, we got back on the, like, next train, which was every, like, 5 minutes or so, so it was fine. Overstoppen. Yeah, it was like, how... It was one of those things that also, like, it looks almost like English. That's the other interesting thing about Dutch, I suppose. Is that it looked very similar to English. But yeah, if in English I would pronounce that as, like, overstappen. But it's just transfer. It's just transfer. So, you know, if you need to transfer to the, like, line 2 tram or whatever, or the 301 bus, at this stop, that's what that means. But I didn't know that because we don't, you know, the word for that in English is very different. We would say, like, change or transfer or interchange or something like that. So, it broke my brain. It broke my brain a bit. So embarrassing. Anyways, I was just debating what color I want this sign to be. Because some of these I have, like, contrasting colors for the sign names, and then these ones I have, like, the same colors but a very different value. So I'm wondering if I should do that again here and use maybe the violet. Actually, I will, because I'm going to make this one the Ace Apothecary, and for that I do want to use... I want to get some Ace Purple into that, so I will use Ace Purple for the signage, like the word name thing. One thing that I'm noticing about these tubes of gouache paint, one thing I'm noticing today about these tubes of gouache that I'm using, which I'm very unused to, is that it seems like the top layer of them is trying to dry out in the tube, which is a little concerning. Is that going to make it hard for me to paint? Am I going to lose paint to sort of getting dried up chunks in there? On sort of the, like, the top of the paints, because that's unhelpful. You step over. Thank you for the direct translation, Huggy Bear. I appreciate that. You step over basically from one vehicle to a different one. Exactly that, exactly. But I didn't know that, so I just saw like overstep, and I'm like, did I break something? No, I was just transferring. I was just transferring to a different train. It was fine. Looks similar, but looks nothing like the word it translates to. Yay, Dutch! Hell yeah! I do actually think it's a lovely place. It's a nice city, nice country. The airport, like, takeoff and landing area is too long. And I say this because literally, I think I've told this story before, literally as we were, like, flying back to London, our taxi to where we were taking off was 30 minutes long. We were like driving in the airplane past farmlands and over motorways, and such a long time that I genuinely didn't know whether or not we were just driving to London at that point. It took so long. It was like, this isn't, like, nothing about this country is that big. You know, the city is like, I don't know, 800,000 people? It's not that big. Why is the taxi so long to take off in the aeroplane? We're halfway to London already. Like, the flight is literally like 90 minutes. Katie says, yeah, see, my brain would have been like, did I overcharge something? Yeah, exactly. I was worried that I was, like, overcharging the ticket or something, and when I got to whatever, like, my destination was and I tried to clock out, they'd be like, oh, you have an unpaid fare. That's where my brain went, because that that is what made sense to me in, like, English. But no, the words are very similar, but they have very like, connotatively, it's completely different. Which is really interesting. Really, really interesting stuff. I love languages. I think they are so stinking cool. But even within the same language, you get differences. One of the differences that I was thinking about recently, and I was thinking about recently in the context of, for instance, again, I'm traveling to Germany in I'll be there in precisely about 2 months' time, I think. I'm gonna be there for a couple days, so I'm sorry, programming note, there will not be a stream. I think I might not be streaming all week that week, actually. We'll see. I'll have to look at my schedule and see when I'm actually gonna be gone. But, there might be a Monday stream, I think. I think I'm still here on Monday. Anyways, point being, you don't, like, in most of the English-speaking places that I've been to, in the context of, a simple, polite social interaction in public, say with, like let's say a barista. Let's say you're getting a coffee, you're speaking to the barista, and the barista will say, like, hi, are you alright? Or like, hey, how's it going? Something like that. And you say, fine, thanks, how are you doing? And you have a little, like, oh, I'm good, thank you, kind of thing. If they're a little bit chattier, you might get a little bit more of a back and forth potentially about, like, the weather or something else going on. If you're a regular, you might get a little bit more. But, you don't my understanding is you don't vegates, which is how like how goes a barista most of the time in Germany, unless you want to actually know how they're doing, and they will either be like, why are you asking me that, or they will be like, oh, it's very busy and my head hurts and I want to go home. There is a social difference. In some languages, how's it going is basically just, in some languages and also some areas, how's it going is just a stand-in for hello, effectively. I had to relearn this when I moved to the United Kingdom. Specifically, I moved up north. Every time I walked into a shop, the shopkeeper would ask me if I was okay. And that's not something I'd ever encountered before. They'd be like, hi, you okay? In such, like, a kind and sympathetic tone that I thought, like, do I look like I'm going through something? Am I so disheveled that they think that I'm having a crisis? Why is everyone asking whether or not I'm okay? Turns out, hiya, you okay, is just hello walking into a shop in parts of the UK. You'll also get, alright. And that's not asking, are you all right? They're not actually asking out of concern as to whether or not you're all right. You're just supposed to reply with, all right. That's not a thing back in Canada. We did have, like, hi, how are you? How's it going? At which point you'd say, fine, thanks, how are you? And they would say, fine, thanks. 98% of the time, even if you're having the worst day of your life, you say, fine, thanks, because that's just what you say. This isn't a linguistic universal. In a lot of other languages and a lot of other places, if you ask, how are you doing, you will get an honest answer. You will get, like, oh, well, I had a fight with my wife this morning, and I'm still feeling a little bit frazzled by that, but I am planning on buying her flowers tonight, so hopefully that'll patch things up a little bit. And you're like, wow, we just met. Okay. I thought you were going to say fine, thanks. Now I'm offering you relationship advice. Connotations. I think that's a pretty illustrative example about how things don't necessarily always directly translate one-to-one. 'Cause yeah, I would find it, if I were to just ask someone, okay, I've managed to put the word Ace. Will I be able to fit Apothecary? This is going to be tricky. But I shall try. I am thinning the paint down a little bit just so it flows a little bit better, but also in so doing I'm having to make sure that I don't have too much paint on my brush. It is very highly pigmented, so it's going to be hopefully still nice and visible. But okay. Dipping again. Also, I think having the fan running next to me does genuinely dry this paint faster. It's not as bad as when I was painting yesterday. I had the fan right where this mug here is, so that it was just, you know, blasting cold air directly into my face while I was working, which I find is actually the nicest place to be when it's this hot, is sitting at this desk with the fan blasting cold air directly into my face, sitting here while I'm sitting here. So yeah. Yay! I did, y'all, I did it! I did it! I did it! I managed to fit the entire words Ace Apothecary onto the thing. Oh, this is going to be a wonderful place to get, like, you know, heartburn medication and also scented candles and cool rocks and stuff. I love that for my Ace brethren. That rocks. Anyways. Confused the hell out of me first time in the UK about the how you doing. Yeah! Katie says, yay! Yay! I'm so happy. But yeah, the like, alright, you okay kinds of things. I genuinely thought for a bit that people were just asking if I was okay. And I was like, and it turns out, no, that's just, hey, how's it going? You have come into the shop and I have to greet you type greeting. So there was a period of about 2 months, maybe 3 months where I worked part-time in a shop when I first moved here because I was, hurting for finding gainful employment at that point. This is a gazillion years ago now. It's 2013. Can you believe to learn? And so just to, like, not confuse shoppers when they came into the shop, I adopted the, hiya, you okay? Like greeting when people would come into the shop, so because that's what shop assistants say to you when you go into a shop. And as a sales associate or whatever the hell my title was at that horrible shop, I would say, hiya, you okay? And most of the time people would either be like, yeah, I'm just browsing, thanks, or just fully ghost me, like they would just ignore me as if I wasn't there and would just not respond to me at all. Which was always fun and made me feel really good about myself. Or, you know, like the one occasion where I would have someone actually like ask a question and they'd be like, you know, hey, do you have any like do you have any tapered jeans? And I'd be like, oh, we have this style over here, it's called the this, in my, you know, sort of regular Canadian accent, and they'd be like, what the fuck? Because I guess the hiya, UK sounds enough like what a Mancunian person would say that they got really confused when I started just speaking in a normal Canadian accent. Anyways, have a lovely rest of your day, Huggy Bear. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and I hope you have a wonderful time doing whatever you get up to later. And for everyone else who's still here, I hope you are still having a good time. Linguistic whiplash, says Katie. I didn't even think that I was particularly doing an accent when I was saying, hiya, UK. I was just saying something that doesn't sound like something that you would expect a Canadian person to say, I think. I remember once actually, these two people, a mother and daughter, came up to the till, and they were like, "You're Canadian," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're Canadian," because they sounded Canadian too, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. So what are you doing here?" And they're like, "Oh, we live here." I'm like, "Oh, that's neat. You know, how long?" They were like, "Oh, you know, X number of years." And I was like, yeah, I've been here about 6 months. And they were like, do you like it? And I'm like, yeah, it's alright. Do you like it? And they're like, no, we want to go home. We want to go back to Toronto. And I'm like, oh, well, good luck. I hope they enjoyed their, jeans or whatever they bought from the Gap outlet in Salford Keys, as it was known at the time. Yes, it was the Gap, but specifically it was the Gap outlet shop in what was at the time known as, I think it was known as Salford Keys, like, outlet center. So it was all, like, outlet shops rather than regular ones. And to be honest, the savings for the most part were negligible to non-existent. At least in our shop, it wasn't even the same stock that you could get in the regular shops. It was, like, specially made stock just for this place, and everything was always on. There was, like, never a baseline regular price. If you were buying something at regular price in that shop, you were getting ripped off because it was always on sale. I swear that the regular prices were inflated just to make the sale prices, which were actually the regular prices, look better, kind of thing. Because pretty much everything was always on some kind of sale. And also, it was completely different items to the things that you could buy at the regular store. Anyways. What was my point? Oh, my point was the one place in that of the outlet shops in that shopping center. The other place that was worth visiting was the cinema was worth visiting. I saw a couple of movies in the cinema, and I actually saw the Doctor Who 50th anniversary special in that cinema. And because I am a big nerd, and I was a big Doctor Who enjoyer at the time, I went with my friend, but I was working that day. And I had a break of like an hour and a half between the end of my workday and the screening.
User Sammy Kelsch.
Choppers.
Wait a minute. Bulk Bargain Bin, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, and hello. How are you doing? It's lovely to see you. Welcome in, CC Draws as well. Hello. Bulk Bargain Bin, thank you so much for the raid. What were you up to today? How was your stream? I hope you are well. Can I spell? No, but I tried my best. Okay, we've got a shout out for Bulk Bargain Bin in the chat. Hopefully that works. It's lovely to see you. Welcome in. Itak, hello, welcome in. Hello. I'm sleepy, says Bargain Bin. That is a mood, my bug friend. I hope that your stream went well. I am like heat-induced sleepy, I think. We're actually probably not going to go on too much longer ourselves, but I will greet you all. Hello. For anyone who's new here, hi, hello, my name is Twitch user Sammy Kelsch. I'm a variety streamer. I do cozy art streams on Mondays and most Thursdays, do cozy game streams on Friday mornings and sometimes on a Thursday if I'm feeling extra crispy. We are working on a little Pride Month street scene this week. As you can see, we're putting silly shop names on the shop signs today. We've got Trans Rigs Auto Parts, HRT. We've got a Violette florist, being a very queer-coded flower. We've got the Sapphic Cinema, the Ace Apothecary, the Big Gay Cafe. One of these is going to be a bicycle shop. And I haven't decided the other two yet. But we'll figure it out. We just did some figure animal sketching. Nice! As always, we are an art tax optional stream, but if there is anything you would like to share with the chat, I would be more than happy to do so, whether it's what you were working on today, or like a recent artwork or a link to your socials or whatever. You are welcome to whisper a link in my direction. But if you also just want to like raid and fade and whatever, that is entirely fine, and it's entirely up to you. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. That sounds like it was a lot of fun and nice and chill and taking it easy and having a good time, I hope. Before the raid, we were talking about an old job that I had working at a clothing shop. This lasted about 3 months before they fired me because one time I phoned in sick. It was a bad job. Anyways, but it was the outlet store version of a major clothing retailer, and all of the stock was like all of the items that we sold were completely different to anything that was ever, like, it was specially made for the outlet shops. Very strange. But Katie says, yeah, big brands that have outlets have products just for the outlets, even though it's implied the outlets are overstocked from the main stores. Yeah, it never is. I feel like it's the same with a lot of the designer things that you find in shops like TK Maxx and those kinds of stores, where you get, among other things, like, they're like designer items at great prices, but it's like, you have never been able to buy this like DKNY t-shirt anywhere other than TK Maxx. Therefore, I feel like it's a bit disingenuous to suggest that it's the same as, like, the main line of that designer, because it was clearly manufactured just for that shop. It's a weird economy. But yeah, it's definitely the case with a lot of outlet shops. The one outlet shop, like, the cinema was great. I went to the cinema. So this, again, for anyone who's just come in, this is back in 2013 that I worked in this shop briefly, and this was the year of the 50th anniversary of TV's Doctor Who, of which I was a big enjoyer at the time. So I wanted to go see. They did a screening, of the premiere of the 50th anniversary special in selected cinemas, and including the cinema in the outlet mall that I was working in. I was working that day, so I went to the cinema afterwards with my friend. But because I'm a big nerd, I was like, okay, like, I know nobody else is gonna be, but I want to cosplay as a Doctor Who character to see Doctor Who in a cinema. But I also have to work that day. So, because the shop I was working in was the Gap, I managed to cobble together a absolutely, like, piece for piece perfect costume of the 1980s companion character, Perry Brown, out of items that were purchased from the Gap. And I wore that to work. Did I look weird? Oh yes, I did. Was I most definitely dressed as Perry from Doctor Who? Yes. Was I technically dressed appropriately for work? Yes. It was very funny. I was not cut out for a job like that. Anyways, the other two good places in that mall, and there were two other good places in that mall. One was just a bog standard Costa coffee and made a perfectly cromulent latte or whatever. It was just a coffee shop. Not necessarily, Costa's not my first choice as a coffee shop. Like, it's just fine. I think the coffee is mid, but it was available. So I appreciated that. And the Cadbury chocolate outlet store, you could buy a very large bag of slightly broken chocolate bars for a very low price. That was the one other good place in that mall. Everything else was not worth it, including the place that I worked. The only reason that I bought any clothes from the place that I worked was that I got a steep discount because I worked there. I was also earning basically no money. I was on, oh god, I don't know. It was like, I think the most I earned in a single month working there, bearing in mind it was part-time, but I think the most that I earned in a single month working there was £400 in a month. That was less than my rent for a small one-bedroom apartment in a fairly insalubrious part of town. So, yeah. It's not a good job. I'm glad I got fired. Anyways, love that, says Bulk Bug Bargain Bin. Hell yeah. Anyways, in case anyone who's recently come in is wondering, what does this person's artwork look like when it's not, like, partially finished and in a medium they're not mega familiar with? We're using gouache paints today. This is a new set of gouache paints. And this is one of my very first outings with them. So here's a piece that I did fairly recently. If it's okay if I share my own artworks. This is a piece that I did fairly recently. Oh, excuse me. Of a little section of a slightly reimagined little section of Copenhagen that I thought was cute. And I added some little guys because I like putting little guys in my little scenes. There they are. Just walking past the Kunstforeningen, which I'm undoubtedly horribly mispronouncing because Danish is hard. Danish is hard, y'all. But yeah, anyways. Oh no, it's trying to take us into another ad. Do not want. I have no snoozes for the ads. Shoot. Well, I guess we're gonna have to see ads and I'll have to continue on a little bit longer after the ads run. Sorry about that, but you're not gonna miss anything because I take a break when there's ads, so don't worry about it. That's a good use for a brand outlet, says Katie, because it's not requiring extra production. Exactly. They're not making stock specifically for the Cadbury outlet store. They're using it as an opportunity to sell, like, you know, slightly broken dairy milks and just like 25 curly whirlies for like £3. Which, honestly, I didn't indulge very often, which is probably for the best. But when I did indulge, it was a very special treat. I got to take a nap, but I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much again for the raid bulk bargain bin, and thank you to everyone who came in on the raid and is still hanging out. I'm going to get another shout out for you in the chat if I can get my keyboard to work correctly. I think my setup is trying to die because it's very hot here. But if you're not following Bulk Bug Bargain Bin, you should go do that right there. You can do that right there in the chat. Gazillion out of 10 do recommend. What a lovely, lovely friend and a very cool person. And thank you again for the raid. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Go get yourself some rest, my friend. Streaming's a lot, and it's important to allow yourself an opportunity to decompress. I'm going to have a big sip of my tea. So have I been through all of these? We've got a Sapphic Cinema here, because again, it's Pride Month, and so all of these shops are going to be a little bit queer. We've got an Ace Apothecary. We've got a Big Gay Cafe. This, I believe, I can't decide which one of these is going to be the bicycle shop, but one of these is going to be I think I'll make the blue one the bicycle shop. And then we've got two more that I haven't decided what they're going to be yet. What else do we need? We need a bookshop. We definitely need a bookshop of some description. But what shall I call it? I don't know. I don't know yet. But I will do the bicycle shop in blue over here because I think that'll be very, very cute. And should I do? Will it look weird if I use orange for the sun? No, I don't. I think. Would that work? I think that'll work. I think that'd be fine. I'll do that. Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. But that being said, I'm not able to do anything for the next 3 minutes because we're having an ad break and I don't need to miss anything. So I will be back very shortly. Have a drink, have a stretch, take your meds if you need to, and I'll see you on the flip side. BRB, everybody. Sorry about that. Hey, I'm back. Sorry for the slight delay. Whilst I was away, I went to the kitchen to speak to my moderator / spouse, and he was eating some cheese and crackers. And I could not avail myself of a bit of cheese and crackers, because I haven't really had much to eat today, and I haven't had anything to eat in several hours, and man, those cheese and crackers looked really good. It's a good cheese. It's a Port Salut, if you're familiar with the cheese. It's very pleasant. I'm a fan. Anyways, I'm back. Hi. Hopefully my camera's still... Yeah, it's still working. Okay, cool. Anyways, we probably won't be going on too much longer, I'm afraid to say. But I will stick around for a few more minutes because we did have an unexpected, unskippable ad break, which was very annoying. Normally Twitch lets you snooze ads for 5 minutes 3 times in your streams. The last few streams that I've had, I don't know if it's glitched out or something, but it says I have 0 out of 3 delays of ad breaks. Like, it wouldn't let me delay the ad breaks. And I'm not sure what... I think there's like a certain... You have to have streamed a certain amount of time before it will let you defer your ad break. But I've been streaming many hours a week. So I don't know why it's not letting me snooze the ads. I'm not stopping ads from running altogether. I just want to be able to occasionally delay them slightly. Especially if someone has just done a lovely raid. There we go. It is. But come on, focus. Focus on my fingies. There we go. It is a bicycle shop. That's very cute. I like that. I like a bicycle shop. That's so stupid. I love it. Anyways, I need to finish this piece this week. Because Thursday, assuming I am able to stream Thursday, and I sincerely hope I'll be able to stream Thursday, is my last art stream of Pride Month, because I'm not going to be here next Monday. I apologize that I'm not going to be here next Monday. I am out of town. And I am sorry. But don't worry, I'll still have a nice time. Anyways, I hope you'll all find the means to cope without my presence for a day. I'm sure you'll be all right. Now, where's my aha? Okay, so I think this is just gonna be queer. This is just gonna be queer books, and then, not sure about this one yet. I'll figure it out when we get to that. But as I say, we're not gonna go on too much longer, I'm afraid. But, I will at the very least pull a little glob of this beautiful Quinn Violet, which is one of my very favorite colors of paint that existeth. I think it's so nice. Actually, I think two of my favorite colors of paint that existeth are quinacridone Violet and quinacridone Gold. Though quinacridone Gold is an interesting case because this is new quinacridone Gold that just is kind of a blob on my palette currently because I only have it in a tube. But I've talked about this many times before. The original pigment that made quinacridone Gold, it was a single pigment of PY49, I want to say. That might be incorrect, but it's somewhere in that vicinity. PY49, I think. Was discontinued some years ago, and the supply of it is basically depleted. You can't really buy it from any retailers anymore. So different retailers have used like blends of different still existent pigments to replicate the experience of quinacridone Gold. None of them are 100% bang on. This is the one from Daniel Smith Paint, and it's pretty close. It is such a beautiful color, but the artist market was not enough to sustain the manufacture of the pigment, because it turns out the manufactory that the one manufactory that made quinacridone Gold as a pigment, their main customer base is not artists, but actually the like automotive market. And I guess having beautiful, brilliant golden yellows, not a popular enough choice for the automotive audience for them to continue making it, which is very sad because for an artist who likes to work with color, it is a really beautiful, useful pigment. But we are not the target market. We are the side piece. Anyways, queer books. I'm realizing now that using this this slightly warmer violet purple as the color for queer books on the yellow building also very much echoes the colors of the intersex flag, which is very cool. Anyways, the intersex flag is a fantastic set of colors. Like really cool colors, really good colors, and frankly, considering Considering what the intersex community have put up with over the years, very well deserved. I used to have a friend whose wife was a sociology professor by trade, but also by I don't want to say side hustle, but the other thing that she did that was very notable was to work as she was a very vocal advocate for like intersex rights, which still an ongoing concern and issue, and things that a lot of people don't necessarily consider or think about. And yeah, anyways, so we've got queer books and something here. So we've got an auto parts shop, we've got a tea shop, we've got maybe a little tea room where you can get some tea and scones. We have a florist, a cinema, we've got a little apothecary where you can go get yourself some ibuprofen and I don't know, probably also like a really nice kombucha or something. A queer bookshop, we've got a big gay cafe, we've got a bicycle shop, and then maybe like what's the last one? My concern is that anything that I put on the sign isn't quite going to fit anyways. Because the building cuts off a little bit. But I was thinking maybe just a little like LGBT grocery. But that's not all gonna fit. Well, maybe if I can get LGBT grocer in, that'll do. You can extrapolate the rest based on that. I'm gonna mix together this darker violet with the Quinn violet for this sign, I think. And obviously the acronym can get a lot longer, as you can see from the tags in the acronym can get a lot longer than just the LGBT, you know. There's also the Q, the I, the A, the plus. In some regions also the TS if you live in a region where the indigenous folks have the two-spirit gender expression, which is not really a thing. I mean, notwithstanding any two-spirit indigenous peoples who happen to live in the United Kingdom, but that's not something that is like a cultural thing here. So I don't think most people are familiar with it. I think in general, I feel like British knowledge of like indigenous Canadian peoples is very, very minimal. Which, you know, on the one hand, fair enough, because, you know, like the said indigenous peoples are not indigenous to the United Kingdom. But then on the other hand, like, oof, the colonial history that the British were very involved in terms of some pretty extremely long-standing legacy of really just unfair treatment of the indigenous peoples of Canada. Maketh me grumpy, chat. It maketh me grumpy. A bear bar, says Advent. Oh. Unfortunately, I've already... Do y'all remember the year that for Pride, I think it was Marks and Spencer's released an LGBT sandwich? Which is, it's a riff on the BLT, you know, the bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but I think it was like lettuce, guacamole, bacon, and tomato, or something like that. It was kind of shoehorned in there to make the sandwich acronym LGBT. But, like, would I eat an LGBT sandwich? Yeah. Yeah, probably. I don't imagine that the ingredients wouldn't go together. Okay, you can just about see. So this is an LGBT grocery store. I was tempted to just put LGBT sandwich, but I'm gonna not do that. But yeah, I think that's real cute. I think that's cute. I hope people think that's cute. I hope I get this done before the end of Pride Month. This has taken a really long time to do, but I'm having a fun time doing it, and I hope that you've enjoyed that as well. Okay, well at least the signs are done. So I might depending on how I'm going, I might finish this off stream, or we might finish this on Thursday, or we might start something else on Thursday. I just don't know at this point. I also have I've got a commission that I need to finish off stream as well. I say shoot, I'm very happy to have a commission. I love doing commissions. There's a commission page in my shop. If that's something you might be interested in, feel free to hit me up. I am generally open for commissions when I've got availability, and you've usually got available at least to do a couple, so I'm always happy to do so. But yeah, we finished the little signs. I hope you think they're cute. I had a really fun time coming up with names for the things, and thank you also to my lovely people of chat for suggesting names as well. I do appreciate it. That's very, very fun and cool. Let us go say hi. Oh, you know what? Someone is online who I have not said hello to in quite a while, so let's go give a raid to Pop-Tart. If it will... Come on. Okay, there we go. Pop XD Tart is Pop-Tart's username. So, let's start that raid. Let me get you a raid message. I am so sorry that the stream was run a little short today. But, wow, my computer is pumping out so much heat right now. I really think it needs to take a rest. It's super hot out today. And I need to sit directly in front of a fan for a while. So, and go eat pasta salad, which I'm having for dinner. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to Bulk Book Bargain Bin for the raid. And thank you all for hanging out with me today. I've had a lot of fun chatting with y'all about cinema and languages and all of the things. And I hope you've had fun too. I shall see you hopefully again very, very soon. I will be back on Thursday attempting to stream. If that ends up having to change because the weather is having a conniption, I'll let you know then. But I'm just going to take a little photo of my whip for posterity. Is that thunder? I think we might be about to have a thunderstorm. So yeah, I'm going to get out of here just in case the power goes out. It's been very fun hanging with you and chatting with you today. Please take care. Stay cool. Keep yourselves hydrated, especially if it's hot where you are. Stay out of the sun if you can. Be safe. Stay cool. Take care. Good night and good luck.